Good night, everyone. Obviously, earlier this evening, we would have had a significant amount of rain across different parts of Barbados. I was actually in church at the Sharon Moravian Church when the rain started. And when I came out, I started to get reports. We're here at Rowe Bridge, which is probably the worst that we have had reports on for the evening. There have been some other instances across the island, but nothing compared to this from what the Minister of Home Affairs and VM have reported so far. As you can see, there are a number of cars that were clearly carried away by the water gushing. And I'm sure that others have seen the pictures on social media. One is right here to my right. One is back at the junction, still blocking the junction by the gas station and the top of Charo Bridge. One is a taxi driver who is just short there at the top. And regrettably, Chief, you said that there are two vehicles that were washed way down the bottom, the lane. What is even more worrisome than all of that is that there is a report of a missing man who, and the initial video would suggest that water swept him away, but it is too early for us to say any more at this point in time. We've met with his niece. We obviously have him in our prayers, but the police and the fire office and, firemen and the DDF have to be allowed to do their work to see what is happening down there. They've managed to clear away a little bit because when we first came, the chief was worried even about the police going down there, but he's now said it's clear for the police to go and take the photographs down there. So, this is exactly what we've been talking about when we talk about the intense rain that we're not accustomed to. And this regrettably is part and parcel of all that we've been fighting for with respect to the climate crisis. It's going to take time for us to adjust our infrastructure. This is not something that can be done in 5 years or 7 years. This is a long-term effort. This is a marathon. But what each of us can do, we must do around our houses and around also in a strategic way with public works and infrastructure, doing the things that will minimize the damage. Wilfred, I don't know if there's anything more. I know that there was a report of damage to a retaining wall in Coffee Gully. Initially, people said it was a bridge. I'm told that it's not a bridge. It was just a retaining wall. I saw the water in St. Peter, but from early reports, it seems as though that has moved quickly. And that really is the idea. We can't stop the deluge and the intensity of the deluge, but we need to make sure that it can run off as quickly as it can by keeping areas clean and clear as far as possible. Any questions? Chief, you want to say anything?
What we're doing here, in addition to what the person said, what we're doing, this house at back of me is flooded, and we're setting up pump, so we're trying to give the residents some relief tonight. So we're setting up to pump off the water from the basement that they've done up here. That they start their cleanup process up to hurry up way as soon as possible.
I think that there were a number of other persons who the fire service also helped evacuate who felt threatened by water that was rising, including some from up here, up opposite the police station, the exchange, and then one or two other parts of the island. You've deployed people to help people get out of residences, correct?
Yeah, Coastal Heights and St. Lucie, Chagos and Pullot and Brighton Center.
So as you can see, it's spread all over the island, the intensity that we think. We hope that we can keep safe for the rest of the night, but we will expect some other rain throughout the night based on what the Met Office has said, but I hope the worst of it is gone. Okay, but I just ask people who are watching, and I'm sure you'll do social media posts tonight, just to be safe and to be on the watch out, because once you have that heavy, intense rain for a long period of time, while it will run off, the problem is the momentum of the rain before it runs off, as we saw here with what happened with these cars and obviously with the gentleman earlier this evening. Minister, I don't know if you want to add to it, please.
Just to say, it's been a very, very busy night for the emergency services. I want to really thank and congratulate the emergency services on the very fast response that they had. You were stretched. There were a number of areas flooded, and they had to respond to a lot, probably the most calls we ever had in one night.
And the
right?
roving team is also
And the
doing-
roving response. But they came out like stars. And I want to thank them. People don't understand that sometimes the fire service and the response units have to put themselves personally at risk in order to save other people or try to minimize damage to property. And I can't overstate that I really appreciate, Chief, the way all of the emergency services responded today. Y'all saved some lives tonight. Now, the other thing is, for those who have had property damage or who have issues, you can still reach out to the 24-hour services, which is the police at 211 and fire at 311. And we will circulate the information in relation to DM again tomorrow, so that after there's a settle, if people have property damage to report or any other things like that, that they can make reports to the DM and we will follow up.
I want to also thank the support team from the constituency branch of St. George North. The member of parliament is actually on duty leave for the International Labour Organization, but our branch president, our personal liaison officer, the PRO, and the others from the branch have been out here working along with the St. George North VEO people as well. And it is this kind of collective response combined with the efforts of the BDF, the fire service, and the police that will help us, and the roving response team that will help us community by community by community. And I'm saying this deliberately to you because sometimes people don't understand the power that they have to help us. We don't want people taking foolish risks, but once the risk has abated, like now the rain is out, then we need to come out and check on neighbors, check on people, check and see who is flooded, like here, who needs to be moved, etc. And in the case of the man that's missing, the fire service will continue to do the search and rescue, and we will keep him in our prayers and hope that he is still alive. Okay? Thank you very much. The irony, just now before we started talking here, we've spoken to the Chief Technical Officer in the Ministry of Public Works. The BDF, as you would have seen, have already cleared some of the rocks that were in the road, but we now need to get the machinery here in order to scrape the road and to remove all the debris from the asphalt that's broken up, as well as the mud and other rocks that are there. And I have asked the Chief Technical Officer to make sure that that can be done, start doing it from 4-day morning, so that as soon as possible it can be clear, so that we can at least have a normal flow of traffic across here and any other roads across the island that have been blocked. If people know of other things, as the minister said, please report it to the district emergency officer or to the Department of Emergency Management, whichever one you have. And I'd ask them to please circulate those numbers on radio all through the night, as well as on social media.
Tim, there's been some complaints that there isn't proper drainage in certain communities, and that is what has resulted in...
I can't say that. Anybody can say anything, and I empathize because, like in this particular instance, clearly NTW was clearing drainage and clearing the bush for a while. Where they fell down and where I'm not happy with is that they did not move the debris having cleared it, and therefore that would have compounded the situation. As it relates to other communities, let us be real, you can't boil the ocean all at once. So the MTW, I think, has been trying to be able to deal with it, but I keep making the point. The intensity, let's look at Jamaica, the intensity that they faced. Let's look at Grenada and St. Vincent last year, the intensity that they faced. Our infrastructure built over the last 70, 80, 90 years is not built for this kind of weather. And that's why I keep talking. People talk about my travel. I keep going overseas and being able to make the point that we need to be able to receive funding for the damage. We did not cause this climate crisis, but we are on the front line of it. And there are too many times, whether it is drought or whether it is flooding, luckily for us, and find some wood to knock fast for me, please. We've not been affected in the same way with the hurricanes, but the floods and the droughts and the sargassum are the three ways in which we face the immediate danger. That does not mean that hurricanes will not hit us. And we know through Elsa, but because we are so far east, it means that the water is not as warm as it is if we were west, like the other islands or in Jamaica. You saw how Melissa stayed over the Caribbean Sea dropped to a mile per hour. The temperatures of the sea was 2 degrees higher than it normally was. And therefore, what we hear from people is that it hit Western Jamaica almost like an atomic bomb. Okay? So I'm asking Bajans, all of us, we need to be more sensitive to the new world, to the new reality in which we live. 2-3 hours of rain can cause havoc and can take people's lives if we're not careful. Okay?
No, that's not. So I'm gonna ask you. You could take the information from me, but speak to Sabu. He said over 7 inches of rain fell today, and his words were, "When that much rain falls in such a short space of time, no matter how good the drainage is, it's going to flood."
Too much. Yeah, it's just too intense.
Too much.
And too much all at once. And that's what we're facing. So we have to stay one step ahead of it. That's where we have to call, what we say is that we have to adapt. Mitigation is the things to be able to stop temperatures from rising. But adaptation is changing how we live, changing how we build our infrastructure, modifying it to make sure that we don't have the level of damage or loss of life that you would otherwise have if you're going to that. Make sense?